Well, hello, everybody. You have just boarded the lifeboat. I am AKA Heather Joy, kind of the nurse of the boat. And hey, it's good to see everybody. I am, please, I know a lot of you don't, you guys prefer Tommy, I understand. He's a professional public speaker, of course, but, I would ask you, please stick around. I've got some interesting things to share with you guys today. Uh, I've been extremely busy, so I haven't had time to get everything together the way I wanted it, but we're going to do this and we're going to have fun. I hope everybody's doing well this afternoon, this evening, I guess it is now. Before I get started, I've got the coolest letter from my daughter, and I just want to read you a part of this. It just, wow. I was an addict the whole time my kids were growing up. And, it was been when they graduated from high school that I really got a hold of myself and pulled myself out of this addiction I had. And, they saw a lot of bad things with their mom. And yeah, but this is cool. Let me just read you a section of this. I hope she doesn't mind I'm sharing this with you guys. But she said here, I've been thinking about the times when you would send me letters during college, during my mission, and before, and how good it was to have the reassurance that you were thinking of me. I hope I can give you back and reciprocate that love. We've both been through so much, and now it seems we've finally grown into our true selves. I remember feeling as though I was meeting Heather for the first time at one of our last trips to Lake Powell. We used to go once a year down to Lake Powell. My brother had a houseboat. Anyway, okay, let's see. I remember feeling as though I was meeting Heather for the first time at one of our last trips to Lake Powell. It must have been around the time when you finally got all of your medications right and things clicked. But I remember thinking, this isn't the mom who's always drowsy and out of it that I remember. You were as energetic and spunky as a cheerleader, full of laughter again, and it's only gone uphill from there. You're running and you're taking charge of your health and well-being. You're running Spartan races with Steve, taking care of him, taking care of your neighbors, your mom, your chickens. That's so much. And I'm so happy for you. And I'm happy I've been privileged to see that transformation. I love that. I love that. She has, I'm not sure how much my youngest daughter remembers about my addiction, but my oldest one remembers a lot of the bad things, and it just makes me so happy that she got to see that. She gets to see who I really am, when I'm not weighted down under all of the pain pills that I loved so much, and that just made my day. I didn't expect it. It was just such a sweet surprise to find that in the mailbox. And and I'm just sharing it with you guys because I want you to know that change is possible. It's not easy, and I'll never lie about that. It's not easy to overcome addiction, but it's so worth it. It's worth all you have to go through. It is definitely worth it. You guys, any of you can do it. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Paul is asking, where's the captain? He's just really, really busy, packing up their house. I know that he started showing it today, and he's just exhausted. He just needed some time to take a nap instead of preparing for the live stream tonight. And then he's able to show the house. I hope people are coming to look. But anyway, yeah, that's where he is. There's nothing wrong. He's just really busy. So unfortunately, you get me. Anyway, Uh, let's see. Where do I want to go from here? Um, there was one other thing. I don't know if I ever told you. Somebody asked me about this the other day. My handle on YouTube is AKA Heather Joy. Let me just explain where that comes from. My mother, her name is Heather. And I guess my name was supposed to be Rachel. And at the very last minute, they decided to name me after my mother, but they gave me the middle name of Joy, which comes from my dad's mother's name. Her middle name was Joy too, and it just kind of became the way to tell us apart. When people would call when I was growing up at home, and they'd ask for Heather. Well, which one, the big one or the little one? But it used to bother me that I didn't have my own name, and it was funny too. There was another girl in the town where I grew up that had the same uh, first and last name that I did too. So sometimes it was a little confusing, but anyway, it just became, as I grew up, I started to like the name Heather Joy, and I loved it, especially because that was how my family refers to me, so that they know the difference between the two of us. But it just makes me really happy when I hear somebody call out Heather Joy. Um, because just it makes me happy because it's usually family or people that I'm really close to. So that's where that comes from. If somebody was asking about it the other day. Anyway, if you guys looked at the thumbnail, I had a picture of Pandora's box, and I just want to retell the story if I can remember it properly. This is from Greek mythology, the story of Pandora's box. And okay, there were the two titans, Prometheus and, let me think, it was Epimetheus, I think was the other one, was the other titan. That these two were brothers, and they were in charge of. Come here, honey. Come here. Sorry. Come here. Jump in my lap. You're interrupting. Get in my lap or go away. Okay, come here. Come on. Anyway, sorry guys. Here you go. Okay, so Prometheus and Epimetheus were two titans. They were brothers, and they were given the job of creating man. And Prometheus, as you know, always wanted to help his creation and make sure they had what they needed. And so he stole that sacred fire from the gods and gave it to man. And he knew, even though he did that, he knew that someday he would be punished in some way, in some form. And so he told his brother Epimetheus, he said, never ever accept a gift from the gods. Because he knew that he would be punished, and that might include people that he cared about. And so, anyway, Zeus, of course, the head god of all the gods in ancient Greece, he was going to punish him. And so what he did was he created Pandora, and he presented this young lady to all the rest of the gods, and they each gave her different gifts. And I can't remember, I think like Hermes gave her the gift of using words very well, using language, and there was beauty, there was language, there were a bunch of things that she was given gifts as. And so she was the whole package, had everything going for her, and she was extremely beautiful. And Zeus sent her down to Epimetheus. And, remember, he'd promised Prometheus that he would never accept a gift from the gods. But he was so blown away with this lady's beauty, and that he didn't even think about it. He just accepted her right away. He put her in a room in his palace, and when Zeus sent her down to Epimetheus, of course, he sent her with this beautiful box. They describe it as just, intricately decorated, just something very, very beautiful. But he warned her. He said, never, ever, ever open this box, ever. And Epimetheus had put her in one of the rooms in his palace, and she couldn't leave the box alone. It was just so beautiful, and she was so intrigued with it that one day she gave in and she opened the box, as you know, and it released all the evils that would curse mankind. And they all came flooding out, and it was too late to shut the box back up. It released it all. There were a lot of evil things, the things that would cause war and bloodshed and hatred, and just, all of the things that plague us. But there was one thing left at the bottom of that box. I don't know if you remember, but it was hope. There was hope put in the very bottom of that box, so that regardless of anything that you had to face, there was always still hope there that you could overcome things. And I love that there was hope at the bottom. And I think this applies so well to us as addicts. And I'll explain why. Tonight I want to go over, I have got this book here that I've been reading, Rewired, but I've gone through a few of the chapters with you guys. We've talked about, let's see, honesty was the last one, if you remember. And before that, I have to look. The principle was, where did it go? Authenticity. Okay. So, we start with authenticity. That's something that as addicts, we have to learn how to be our authentic selves. We've talked about that one. And honesty is a big part of that. That's the next principle in this book. And that's a hard one. You have to learn all over how to be honest, because, as addicts, we hide things, we're dishonest, we lie, we do whatever we can to get our fix. And, it's something that you have to really relearn. So anyway, the third principle in this book is evolution. And, the goal in this chapter is pretty much to get you off the couch. When you're in active addiction, you are really stuck in a rut, and there's no other way out of it. You've got to get up, and you've got to make some effort, to work yourself out of it. You've got to evolve yourself, and, to get yourself out of that. And it's a skill, and it's a process. Let's see. Let me look at let me find my notes, guys. First of all, I just wanted to read you, not the biological definition of evolution, but more of a generalized one. And this is out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The first definition is a process of continuous change from a lower, simpler, or worse to a higher, more complex or better state, or growth. The second definition is a process of gradual and relative peaceful social, political, and economic advance. But I think the first one really, really applies to addicts. If you want to get out of that rut, you really do have to go from something that's lower, much more simple, to something much higher. It's growth. And as addicts, when you're in active addiction, you've stopped your growth. And Tommy was saying something the other night about how I believe it was when he was 13 was when he started trying out different drugs and things, and that lasted for a huge section of his life. He was actively in addiction to heroin for, you guys know a lot of his stories, but he said what made me really think was he had said, he started at 13, and from our preteens up to, ooh, maybe 25, 26, 27, at that age, that's the key period of time where you are learning how to cope. You're learning good coping skills, and you're learning how to communicate properly with other people. And there's just a lot of skills that you learn during that time. And the older you get, the more you get a sense of who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. You start to figure out who you are. But if you've been in active addiction through that time, you stunted your growth. And I've seen this with a lot of people in, when I was working in psychiatry as a nurse, where the people that went through a lot of trauma, it stunts their emotional growth. It stunts their emotional intelligence. And you'd have adults that were acting like 8-year-olds at times. It really does. It really stunts our growth. And so evolving out of a rut of addiction and evolving to something higher, something better, that's what we need. It is a process, because when you're just like, if something traumatic happens to a child and it's not dealt with, I mean, it stunts them, and they don't move on emotionally until they have dealt with that stuff and learn the coping skills and the things that you need to deal with that. And that's definitely what happened to me. I think it was when I was 20 is when you guys all know I was in an early bed accident when I was a kid. And it was when I was 11, and I figured out when I was 11 that I really, really like pain medication, prescription pain meds. Doesn't matter what kind. It was, really liked it. I really had an affinity for that, as well as benzodiazepines. I liked to be known, and I figured that out very well when I was 11. But once I was able to, once my body healed from everything, I wasn't actively addicted to anything then. But when I was, there were a lot of things that happened as a kid growing up that affected me very deeply. And so it was when I was 20 that I really started into my addiction. That's when it really started for me, and was a problem. And I think it started out with, I just had slept funny, pinched a nerve in my neck, so I couldn't turn my head or anything. And I went to the doctor, and I think he gave me a bottle of Valium, because diazepam is very, very good muscle relaxant. So if you've got muscle nerve issues, where the nerve is causing a lot of pain in your muscles, that's a good one, because it helps relax the muscles from spasming, and yeah, I took that whole bottle. It didn't take me long to get through it. And that just that's from that point on is where I really kicked off my addiction. And yeah, it got bad from then on. And yeah. Anyway, it was, I'm not even sure. I know I think I was just afraid. For one thing, I was afraid of dealing with all of the crazy things that happened growing up. And I was still at that, when I was at 20, when I really started into active addiction, it was, I think I was afraid of dealing with everything. I was still having a lot of PTSD at that time from the accident that I was in. And that was just, one of the many things that I needed to deal with. And I didn't want to. It was extremely painful. But it really stopped my growth. I was only 20 when I started into that. I already had, my self-esteem was complete crap. Didn't believe in myself, didn't like myself, just felt so ugly and so awful. And it was, um, sorry, guys, I need to hang on. Sorry. Um, okay, sorry, guys, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so it was my boss. Um, anyway, a lot of times, when it's fear, that we get into addiction. Um, a lot of the time. And we're different, we're very different from animals. As far as evolution, animals obey the rules that have been put in place, as far as their instincts and nature. That's they live how they've been designed to live. And of course animals can evolve over time, and it's usually things in their environment that causes, a change, in an animal. But as humans, yes, we're animals, but we also have this intellect, and that intellect can be good or it can be bad. And as if we're afraid of something, that it's a lot of times we have these existential fears. We have these brains are so powerful that our imaginations, our dreams, all these things that our brains are capable of, it can be really good, but it can also be really bad. Because we can think of all kinds of crazy, awful things and convince ourselves that that we're ugly or stupid or unworthy, or it can really, our brains can really play a number on us. And so a lot of times we do, as humans, we do, turn and try to medicate instead of using a good coping mechanism. It's easier to medicate. And our brains are very self-aware. And we can contemplate our place in the universe, and everything. But a lot of a lot of times that fear drives you to, just want to numb yourself out, just medicate yourself. you know um and the sad thing about that is when we do that, as humans, that goes against our own nature, because we are meant to go through life continuing to learn and continuing to progress and continuing to become better at the things that we're good at, and even learning new things. Oh boy, I gotta quit shaking the, sorry guys, I didn't realize how blurry that was. I've been shaking the desk. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Oh boy. Anyway, but like I was saying, when we're in active addiction, we grow stagnant. We get into a rut. It goes against our nature. It really does. And you basically become, in active addiction, you are at war with yourself in a lot of ways. Um, I'm just looking through my notes here. We repeat. Okay, this is what I was thinking about. Um, Everybody has, I believe we all have our own purpose here. We each have our own purpose when we're born here. We have our own purpose. We have our own talents, and everybody's good at something, but we're often good at very different things, and that's what brings a lot. Just like wildflowers, bring so much beauty to nature. I think for humans, just having a variety of people who are good at so many different things, I think it's the same thing. It can be very beautiful. Um, However, all of these things that you're good at, like I said, a, when you become an addict and you're in active addiction, you really are kind of frozen in time, and you're not progressing, you're not growing, you're stuck. Not It's not good. And the crazy thing is that all of these things that we are so good at, that we start to use those to maintain our addiction, because with addiction, once you start in, whether you prefer to drink or, you know, take pills, whatever it is that your addiction is, um, the longer you're in it, the more it takes of whatever your substance of choice is to get the same effect. And then, after a point, you don't get this, you never do get that same effect again. But what you do have to do, oh dear, is that? Anyway, I'm just see, I'm don't know what's going on with the computer, but I can, okay, and I'm okay. Sorry guys, I can see that there's been some, oh great. The Wheel of Doom. Again, that's stupid. Buffering Wheel of Doom. I hate that thing. And I'm sorry. It's really blowing out here, and I'm sure that's why. Um anyway, sorry guys, that distracted me for a minute. Oh, I remember where I was. But all of these things that we are so good at, we start to use them just to maintain. It's not to get that buzz that you used to get anymore. It's just so you don't get sick. It's just so you can keep things normal. But you know what? We're very resourceful at the things we come up with, as far as you know getting our alcohol or getting our drugs, or whatever your addiction is. We can be really good at getting what we need just to stay normal. And it's really sad because you're using gifts, talents, just to keep yourself stuck. And what it comes down to is, it's kind of like addiction, kind of like making a deal with the devil. At first you just wanted, maybe just a few hours to have some peace and some rest from whatever it is, that is traumatic to you, and you're trying to deal with it. you know um you just want a few hours of peace, and yeah, it doesn't turn into that. After a while, it turns into something ugly, and that deal with the devil definitely isn't worth it, is it? um you know this What's sad too is that that can turn into, just those few hours can turn into weeks, months, years, decades, where you're stuck. It's not a good thing. um and I'm looking through my notes here too. Sometimes it's also just boredom that can even get you into the addiction. But whatever the reason, um the fact remains is that until you go back and you deal with whatever it is that drove you to want to be numbed, until you can deal with that, you're not going to get out of that addiction. And that means change. And we all hate change. Even when changes are for good, they're not pleasant. It can be very, very difficult. um and then our brains, these incredible brains that we have too, even when you start to try to make a change, your brain's always throwing things at, like, throwing things at you. And again, there's the fear again. You think maybe I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too stupid, I'm too, there's just a myriad of things that can come into your mind that can, just really push you to just stay in that addiction. um and it's really sad. You have to lie, you have to keep secrets, you have to do all of these things to maintain the environment that you created for yourself, if you're an addict. um Now this, trying to overcome that and to evolve, to get yourself out of that rut, it's not easy. And it's a process. It's not just, it's not where you just make that decision and boom, there you are. Of course, we all know that. We all know how difficult it is. And it really is a process. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. I don't want to miss anything that I think was important. Um, it's possible to rewire your brain and look at failure and success occurring in your life both as good things, because it's a process. A lot of people, when they want to get out of addiction, they find themselves in deep depression. And when you're depressed, it's very hard to see how anything could ever be better. It's just you can't see that. um let's see. But it is possible to rewire your brains. It really is. And that's why I am so open about things from my life, is because I want people to know that it can be done. You know, I'm sure my family's not always happy about me speaking so freely about things, but that's why I do it. We really can rewire our brains. And um, but again, I keep going back to it's a process. You know, failure. I wrote a note in here. Okay, yeah. Again, failure and success, they're both part of the process. And if you want to become who you're meant to become, and you want to discover all of the things you're good at, and and get on with your life, you've got to make those changes. And like I said, it's a process. And I want to read you this little quote here that I wrote down. It says, if every caterpillar regarded his process as too sticky, too time consuming, or too ugly to deal with, there would be no butterflies. I love that. And we have to learn, we have to go through the same kind of process too. Um, we have to realize, that making this huge change in your life is not going to be easy. And sometimes it's ugly. Um, but again, it's a process, and you have to be very gentle with yourself at this point too, because your brain really can play a number on you, and throw a lot of guilt at you for all the things that you've done while you've been in active addiction. It can really be a struggle. Um, so I want you to think about it this way. If you want to be sober and you want to be happy in this life, then and you're here, then you at the lifeboat, you probably already know that there's only one way out of this, and it's not going to be easy. So I want you to think about it this way. When, as I've stated before, when you become an addict, you fall into a rut, and your growth stops. What you need to do, in order to become sober again, but to find the, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, guys, but you have to rediscover who you are, who you really are. You have to rediscover your passions. And so it's a really good thing to think back to when you were just a young kid. What things were you excited about? What were you impressed with? What things did you want to do? I want you to think about what you were passionate about before your addiction, and go back to that. you know because that's a lot of times, those are some good clues right there about what you are good at, and which direction you should head. So if you're following your passions, it's so much easier to get up every day and put time and effort into that. Much easier. um see, let me look at my notes here again. Oh, I just wrote in here, the only cure for arrested development is development. That's what you got to do. Um, and I want you to think about this too. I know for me, I miss growing up, as an early adult, because our brains aren't fully formed until we're 25, 26. So, you're always going to be learning and growing. but we can continue even after that point. Um, but I want you to think, like I said, think about when you were young, what things you were passionate about. What were your goals? What were the things that you wanted to do? And I want you to rediscover those. And in a way, it's kind of like growing up late, but it doesn't have to be hard. Okay, it's going to be hard, but it doesn't have to be boring. It can be a lot of fun. Seriously. Um, and I've written in here for some reason, let's see, failure. Okay, it's probably okay. Yeah, failure is one of the main reasons why we prefer to numb ourselves out in addiction, rather than move forward. But there really is no other way, um, but to fail at times. This is a process, so it's something that you have to expect. You're going to have successes, but you're going to have failures too. That's part of learning. That's part of growing. That's part of growing up. It's learning to deal with all of that. And in my notes here, I wrote down some of the people that just refused to give up, even though they failed multiple times. And of course, Thomas Edison was on there. Says he invented the light bulb over 1,000 times before he figured out the one that would work. And he always said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's a good way to think about it. Did you know Steven Spielberg? He was rejected by the USC Film School twice before he got in, but he remained undeterred. And think about his generation of movie makers, movie directors. I mean, he's incredible. He never gave up. Let's see. Oh, this one, Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't know this. He didn't find success as an actor till he was 45. I didn't know that. Another one, I like this one. There's this Swedish man. His name was Oscar Swan, and he won a gold medal at the Olympics at the age of 64. And then get this, at 72, he won a silver medal at the Olympics. So it's not too late. Do not let your brain convince you that you've wrecked your life and it's too late. It's not even close. And one of the things that in this chapter of this book, one of the things that it suggests is finding some role models. So doing this takes a lot of introspection, because as I said before, you got to remember what things were you really passionate about as a kid, or even as a young adult. What things did you want to accomplish? What things did you want to do? You've got to sit down and you've got to write those things down, to remember what they are. Then when you have an idea of what you want to accomplish, and the things that you're good at, if you can find role models that share those same interests and have those same talents, that's such a good place to start, is to have a role model, and to look at the examples that they have shown, in their lives, as far as making progress and doing good things. But another thing that you want to think about when you're trying to evolve, and get out of addiction, is that this brain up here, this amazing brain that we have, it's very good, like I was saying before, at throwing a lot of guilt, a lot of negative stuff it will throw at you. It's kind of your inner critic. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with. And that's, think back to when you were a kid. It seems like there's always, as little kids, because we're learning, we're growing, we're making mistakes, and people are there correcting us. But some people could be very derogatory in that. And so, and I've heard too that the way that your parents talk to you as a child, that's what creates that inner critic, that inner voice inside your head that you hear that says all those good and bad things to you, that's where it's formed, is when you're a kid, and it's how your parents talk to you. Well, my parents were a mess themselves, you know. Eh, and there were a lot of things that were said at times that were very cruel and unkind, especially on my mother's end. And I understand now why she was that way. Doesn't change the fact that it hurt, some of the things that she said to me. I remember one day, I think it was in sixth grade, and it was after I had that, I'd been in that accident. And so at that point, I had scars all over my face and all over my body. They had to shave my hair off to be able to stitch my head up. And, I had no self-esteem. And I just remember I was getting ready to go to school one morning, and I was about to walk down to the bus stop, and my mother was upset about something. I have no idea what it even was anymore. But I will never forget that she looked at me, and, my hair is trying to grow back, and I'm in sixth grade. I'm trying to learn how to use makeup and things like that, I'm very worried about myself. And she looked at me and she said, "What is wrong with your hair? You look like a dog." And I know as an adult that, she was stressed about something and she was lashing out. But as a kid, all you hear are the words that she just said, and it hurts. Oh my goodness, that hurt. I remember crying all walking down to the bus stop. It was probably about half a mile walk. um I remember getting on the bus and riding to school and just wishing that this hole would just open up and I could fall in it, and the ground would cover me up, and nobody, I didn't have to be seen by anybody. I mean, that day, they really threw me when she said that. And there were just lots of comments like that were thrown out growing up. So I really did not have, I've struggled with my inner critic and my inner voice. And as addicts, I think we all have that. Um, and it's so this lady that's written this book, I love this part. Um, she treats people with addiction, and she says, let me read you this part right here. She said, okay, where is it? Okay. She says here, when I hear my inner critic chattering, meaning, the chattering that's coming from one of her patients, she said, I will pause and firmly say out loud, no, just like a puppy that is misbehaving. But that's what we have to do with ourselves. Seriously. Um, we have, you've got to stop yourself from letting your inner critic take over. And, and it's not easy at first, and it's something that takes practice. And, on really bad days, sometimes I still struggle with those negative thoughts, and that negative voice in my head. And it's not going to make it easy for you. So stop yourself when you hear that inner critic, talking to you, and it's telling you all the things you're bad at and how stupid that the thing you just did was. And I think, what is it? Tommy calls them ants, automatic negative thoughts. Um, it's hard at first, but you have to stop yourself. And the other thing that she suggested was looking in the mirror. And I always feel so silly doing this. But looking at yourself in the mirror and giving yourself some positive affirmations and telling yourself, I love you. I remember when I was in rehab, that my counselor had me do that every day. And it took a long time before I could look at myself in the eyes and say, I love you, and actually mean it. I mean, you're working through years and years and years of trauma. And as addicts too, we're not just trying to numb ourselves from things, but we're also building up something to protect our hearts. there's something that they call, I don't know if any of you are familiar with foot zoning, but they have something they call the heart wall. And it's a lot of people that have gone through traumatic things will try to protect, their hearts, kind of your heart chakras, where you feel things. And anyway, sorry, I really I really went off on a tangent there, but positive affirmations are a really good way to do that too. But it's something you have to practice. You have to do it over and over again to get good at it. Seriously. And I love, anyway, at the end of the chapter, she gives a really good thing for you to do an exercise, and it is for 30 days. You need to keep a daily written inventory of everything you're doing right, not the things you're messing up on, the things you're doing right. And you do that every day for 30 days. Just write down the things that, that you're good at, the things that you're doing right. It's just the same when people that get up in the morning and keep a gratitude journal and write down, just so many things every morning that they are grateful for. The change that it wroughts on your brain, and the way that you're thinking, and the way it changes you from negative to positive thinking, it's huge. If you do it every day, it really could help. And this is the same thing, just focus on the things that you're good at, the things that you're doing right. It really will. You'll be surprised after just a week, if you do this just for a week, how different your mental outlook can be. Let's see. Let me look at my notes here again. The other thing that you need to remember is, don't focus on, just focus on your assets, not your flaws. And you need to have a lot of compassion and understanding for yourself while you are going through this huge change, changing from active addiction, to a sober life. It is not an easy thing. You're going to have a lot of self-hatred. It's something that we're really good at as addicts. But if you want to have, sobriety become a long-term thing in your life, it's something that you have to do. And so I'd like to extend that challenge to everybody here. I'm going to do it too. This 30-day challenge every day. You don't have to spend much time on it, but if hopefully you're journaling, because that is so beneficial. But while you're journaling, that's a good place to write down the things you're doing every day that are going right. Look at your assets instead of your flaws. I'm going to do this too. I'm going to do this for 30 days. And I will be reporting back to you guys on how that went. But I think it's really, especially for those of you who are just starting on this journey of sobriety, it is really hard to get through all the negative self-talk that goes on in your head. It's not easy, but tell you what, it can be done, and it's so worth it. And I'm so excited. My oldest daughter, the one that sent me the letter that I shared part of that with you guys earlier, she'll be down Sunday morning, I think, and Sunday evening she is going to come on with me for the live at 5 in the evening, and I'm going to interview her, like as Tommy did with his son and his daughter. Yeah, I asked her, and she's agreed to it. She wants to know the things I'm going to ask her beforehand, of course, but I'm really excited that she's agreed to come on with me, and I hope you guys will tune in. I have amazing kids, and they went through a lot of BS with their mother as an addict, and tell you what, getting that letter, wow, just means it means so much to me. I'm so grateful my daughters, that they've always been a part of my life, regardless of the things that I've done. They've always been a part of my life, and they continue to, and they've been very understanding and very forgiving. And oh, I love those kids. And as I said before, the only reason that I've been sharing these things with you guys and been open about a lot of things that most people would want to keep private, because I want you guys to know you can get out of that addiction and life can be good. You can be happy again. You can enjoy life, and you can progress, and you can accomplish the goals that you want to do. You can do that. Life can be so beautiful. Life is not going to be easy, and I don't think it's meant to be, but it's so worth it. And that's why I'm, sharing these things with you guys. And tomorrow, guys, sorry, I'm kind of emotional just thinking about my daughter, but tomorrow it will be 15 years, 15 years for me that I've been sober. And I'm so tickled that my daughters recognize the transition that I've made with my life. And they see me happy, and I hope that I can, continue to have them a big part of my life. And I hope that they can learn some good things from the things that I've been through. Anyway, I'm sorry. I get so my emotions are always right at the surface. It's just the way I am. Sorry, guys. I just want to look through here for a minute and see who is here. And oh, you guys, the other morning, I still haven't posted everything that I was going to put on the community page from the live stream I did the other morning. I haven't forgotten, and I will get to it later tonight. My health has had a roller coaster ride lately, and I had a bad reaction to some meds the other day, so it's kind of running behind. But I haven't forgotten, guys, and I apologize. Let's see. Who's here? Miss Dragon, Miss V, Alan Valentine, Charlie, Crazy Brumfield, Virginia, Rip Curl, hey, Dennis Brace, let's see, Charles McClellan, Joanna, Paul, Charlie, let's see. Trying to look here to see if I missed any questions, but I'm not very good at that, am I? Let's see, who else? I don't want to miss anybody. Oh, Ultra Maggot T is here. Love your name, by the way. Full of hope. Cultivate kindness. Oh, I'm so glad you guys all stuck around. Let's see. Anyway, is that everybody? If I've missed anyone and not greeted you, I apologize. Let's see. Anyway, oh, Jennifer Rice. Oh, hello. She says, I'm late. Yeah, the captain does deserve a break. I agree. I don't know how he does it, guys. I don't know how he does it. Ladybug. Oh, there she is. Let's see. Anyway. Ooh, we got 5 minutes left. This book that I have been, giving you guys little bits and pieces of, it's got a workbook that goes with it. I just wanted to share a couple of things in here that she suggests as well, that might be helpful. Just things that you can write about in your journal. If there's anything in life, okay, if you could do anything in life and you were guaranteed to succeed, what would it be? Um, Another question, what new doors might open if you make the changes you envision? That's a, that's one I need to think about. Um, Another one, what steps will you take to support your goals? And I hope you guys are writing down your goals, because there's something I don't understand it. But when you decide you want to do something, you set a goal in your head, and you sit down and you make that thought, go from your head all the way down to your arm, all the way to your fingers, so that you can get that pen on the paper and write it down. There's something magical about writing down your goals. And I don't, like I said, I don't understand it, but I just know that when you write it down, it makes a difference rather than just having an idea in your head. Maybe it makes it a little more concrete. I don't know, but I know that helps. So I hope you're writing down the things that you want to accomplish. You got to have something. If you want to get out of addiction, you've got to have something to work towards. Let's see. Another thing she suggests are, and I think this one is important, who are your allies? Those that support your dreams. That's a good one to think about, because I'm very much an introvert, but I still need people. I don't do well if I've been in the house for a couple of days and haven't gone anywhere. And my husband's gone so much of the time too. I'm alone. I talk to myself. I talk to the birds that I have here in the chicken hospital. But I need people. I really do. And I love people. And I love when I can sit down and really have a heart to heart talk with somebody. I love that. I need that. It really is important to have allies. What do I mean by allies exactly? People that aren't going to try to want to talk you out of your sobriety. If you've got a friend and you're trying to be sober, and they're offering you alcohol or your drug of choice, or whatever, or they want to get you to try to go to the bar with them, anything like that, they're not really your allies. If they're trying to tempt you, they're not your true friends. That's the truth. It's really important to have people that have the same values as you, and that want to help you. The last thing that she talks about as far as things you can journal about, how will you reward yourself when you make your progress? That's an important one too. It doesn't have to be a huge reward either, but if you do something right, you do something really well, and you would obtain one of your goals, you need to do something to reward yourself. And I would tell people about it too. You need that positive reinforcement from however you choose to reward yourself, but also hearing that from other people. Receiving praise from other people for things you're doing right is huge. Anything that you can do to get positive thoughts going on up here again, really important. So anyway, that's about all that I have for today. And I'm really glad that Tommy agreed to let me come on so that he could get a break, because he really needs it, guys. He gets so tired. But, so grateful we have him. I'm sure y'all feel the same way. We love him. And tell you, I'm really, really grateful that he started the lifeboat. It was so funny. I'm still remarking to myself on how the lifeboat found me. I didn't go looking for it. It just was right there on my feed when I needed it. And I'm so glad that I discovered you guys. Anyway, I hope you guys have a really good night. Do some journaling. I would really encourage you to do this 30-day exercise, this challenge, whatever you want to call it. You know, focus on the things that you're doing right. Write them down. Seriously, it helps tremendously up here, you know, and you need a positive mental outlook when you're trying to do something as difficult as becoming sober. Anyway, love you guys, and I will see you again really soon.